how these kind of events are more important than ever, because like bringing together people, that's where the true magic happens.
All right, Damian, great to have you here. I would just start straight away with Genuine and your expertise in Asia and how to scale or expand to Asia. And my first question would just be, is there an expansion playbook you could give to a German or European brand? How would it look like?
Well, very good question. First of all, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Always a pleasure to be here at WHU and in Falda. In particular, very great what you guys have done here. I'd say, well, there's no such playbook that I could hand over.
Yeah.
But of course, Asia, the Asian market, and there you need to differentiate a little bit with China and Southeast Asia is vastly different from what we know from the European environment. Yeah, all of the platforms are different. You don't have Facebook, you don't have Instagram, you have no Google.
So can you give us a deep dive into the platforms, maybe? I think that would
Sure.
be very interesting.
Sure. What we see in China is that 5 years ago, actually, we had only two major e-commerce platforms.
Okay.
Tmall by Alibaba, Tmall Taobao, and JD. So if you're on both of the platforms or only on Tmall, it would be sufficient to do a significant business online.
Yeah.
But then from, let's say, 2020 onwards, things started to change in a very rapid speed. And we've seen platforms like TikTok, which in China is called Douyin, coming up rapidly. So evolving from not only being a social media platform, but becoming an e-commerce platform.
Okay.
So all of the platforms which have been social only, like what you know here from Instagram and also TikTok, because TikTok is right now also in Europe.
Yes.
Yeah, all of them have now offered the e-commerce functions, and they've basically stolen market share from the older e-commerce platforms out there. Yeah, and I believe that will happen in Germany too. Yeah, that Amazon, for example, will lose market share to TikTok Shop once it's open, and they're currently already losing market share to Temu. Yeah. But in China, there's a couple of platforms you should have on your radar. It's Tmall Taobao. By Alibaba.
Double T.
Exactly, double T.
Yeah.
JD. And then Douyin, which is TikTok. Potentially also Pinduoduo. Pinduoduo is actually the mother company of Temu. But in China, we don't have Temu. But only for products which are lower price points. So for many European brands, it actually wouldn't matter too much. And then Kuaishou, WeChat, and Little Red Book. If you are on these kinds of platforms, you covered 90% of the market for sure.
Understood. So I think in China in particular, the live stream selling is really a thing. And so my next question would just be, is that something you can also imagine working in Europe? Or is that a trend that is coming to Europe?
Certainly, I think so. You know, if you look at Europe, we've got QVC, we've got Sonnenklar TV. You guys don't know it because you're too young. But there's a lot of people watching. It's like TV shopping. Whatever, afternoon, you turn on your TV and someone is selling something, right? And QVC and Sonnenklar TV, they're all German companies. So basically, live streaming and live shopping is nothing different than this TV shopping, just on a different device, on your smartphone.
Sense,
And I always say that's basically a TV shopping on steroids is the live streaming on TikTok and on other e-commerce platforms in China. And I believe it will certainly now come to Germany and come to Europe because it's already there in the UK. It's already there in the US. And now once TikTok especially opens this live stream function, I think it will also work in Germany.
Yeah, that also perfectly led into my follow-up question, which is, do you think that there will be emerging startups that will do live stream selling, or will the existing players like TikTok, Instagram, maybe even WhatsApp also maybe have a bigger market share than newer players?
Well, I think there are startups which will evolve, which basically facilitate brands and companies to run these shops on TikTok. So to run e-commerce shops and to run live streams for brands, because the brands, especially in the early days, they will not do it themselves. So I believe that's particularly interesting for a lot of founders who are thinking in these kinds of topics, setting up agencies which help bigger companies like Beiersdorf and Henkel and the like to participate in the TikTok shop environment, both in daily sales and kind of paid performance traffic, but even more so with live streams. And if you talk about live streams, there's actually two different kinds. One kind is you do a live stream with an influencer, has 1 million followers, and she streams to her audience. And the other live stream is that you actually have a studio like here, and you do your own brand live stream, 12 hours a day. Some brands even do it 24 hours a day. And what we see in China, for example, is that we've got buildings like here, an entire building we are sitting with like 100 rooms like this, live streaming 24/7.
I mean, that's something the European mind, I think, can't even imagine.
Absolutely. And it might happen in Europe as well. So that could be something. I mean, if you look at the QVC and these kinds of companies, TV shopping companies, they have been successful in the past. And some of them are still successful today. It's not the target group for us in our age group usually. But why wouldn't it work just on a different device now?
Yeah, I mean, makes perfect sense. And now, I mean, we've really talked about e-commerce, live stream selling. Maybe on a bigger notes, are there some major misconception maybe we as Germans or Europeans have about the Chinese economy?
I think it's getting better and better, right? Particularly right now, we can go to China for 15 days without even needing a visa. Yeah, so I do encourage everyone who hasn't been to China to at least go there once and look at the market yourself, the mega cities, like Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and so on and so forth.
I mean, there's so many.
There's many of them. I mean, I myself, I do live in Shanghai. We've got 25 million people living there, including me. And I think the biggest misconception is probably of people who haven't been there or people who did not have a lot of touch points with China, that China is a copycat. And China is a country where your €5 phone case is coming from, and nothing else. And this is the biggest misconception I see. Because China moved from being a copycat to becoming a real innovator just within a time frame of 10, 15 years. So it happened so quickly that a lot of Western companies, they were really caught in the
caught off guard, maybe.
Exactly, absolutely caught off guard in the speed that the Chinese economy and the Chinese companies develop. They're so competitive in every industry. It's fast-moving consumer goods, be it cosmetics, but also cars. If you look at electric vehicles right now, if I go on the street in Shanghai, probably 50% of the cars are electric, and now 51% of the cars who are now being registered newly, they're all electric cars, and 80% of that is Chinese brands. So the international brands, and especially our German industry, is suffering from this kind of innovation and the power that the Chinese unfold there at the moment.
Yeah. And now, because I think, I mean, our audience, probably students, and as I've witnessed now, I think there's a really big opportunity, especially in China. And so my question would now be, what advice would you give to students like us to maybe see more opportunities regarding China for the professionals, or maybe even embrace that opportunities?
Well, certainly I think as a student, you should definitely go to China now often, as often as you can. Maybe you can do an exchange semester in one of the Chinese cities, or you can do an internship. I myself, I had a couple of WHU interns now this summer in Shanghai, in our Shanghai office. Always fun to have them around. So I think the more touch points you can have with the country, the better. Because China is and will also continue to be a leading force in the world.
Absolutely.
Right now it's top 2, just behind the US, maybe top 1 soon. So my advice is really go out there, go to China, visit it, get to know the country, get to know the people, and then see either you want to do business in China or you want to do business outside of China. I think both is fine. But you need to understand what is happening in China in order to deal with it, because no matter if you are in Europe or no matter if you are in China, Chinese business, Chinese companies will definitely touch your business area.
Okay, it makes perfect sense. Now, I think that was really a really great conversation. I mean, really deep. And to round it off, we would maybe now shift to a more, let's say, laid back 3 questions, so 3 quick questions, maybe more fun. And these just answered in 1 sentence on 1 word. And I would just start with the first question being, what superpower would you, have one day if you could choose?
Yeah, I would fly.
You would fly, yeah, makes perfect sense. And my second question would be, actually, I will make that the last question. I think it's a really important question also. What's your experience this year at Idea Lab? How has your time been till now?
Oh, fantastic! It's always great to come back, and that you guys organize such a big conference, from everything fleet service. I'd be picked up and I'd be driven back to the train station or to the airport. That's fantastic service. Everything is very professional. If you look at that, you've got a lot of great companies and partners that they come here and support you every year. So it's been a very, very pleasant experience being back, and hope to come more often.
Yeah, hope so too. All right, thank you for your time, Damian, and it was great to having you.
Thank you very much.